More than 100 people have been killed in blasts at a ceremony for slain General Qasem Soleimani.
Kyiv accuses Moscow of deliberately targeting civilians in some of the heaviest Russian aerial attacks since the war began.
At least 103 people have been killed in blasts in Iran at an event marking the 4th anniversary of assassinated Iranian General Qasem Soleimani, says Iranian state media. Over another 188 were wounded in 2 explosions separated by minutes near his gravesite in Kerman. A senior official called the blasts a terrorist attack without elaborating on who could be behind. No one has yet claimed responsibility for the attacks. In Baghdad on Tuesday, a similar ceremony was held for Abu Mahdi al-Muhandi, killed alongside Soleimani in a US drone strike in 2020. The attack damaged relations with the Iraqi government and triggered demands for the withdrawal of US forces.
An apparent Israeli strike in the Lebanese capital, which killed a senior Hamas figure, has raised fears the conflict could expand. The militant group has confirmed its deputy head, Salah al-Awri, and 2 commanders from its armed wing were killed in a blast in Beirut. Israel has not claimed responsibility. Al-Awri was a political leader of Hamas and also the founder of the group's military wing. The strike hit an apartment in a Hezbollah stronghold of Beirut. Its leader has vowed to strike back at any Israeli targeting of Palestinian officials in Lebanon. Protesters soon took to the streets of the West Bank city of Ramallah after al-Awri's death was announced. Much of the crowd chanted demands for revenge for the killing. Israel is reportedly pulling back some of its troops from Gaza, redeploying them on its border with Lebanon. The UN has called for restraint.
Because of the escalating tensions and the fragility of the situation in the region, we are calling for maximum restraint from all parties.
Meanwhile, fierce fighting continues in Gaza. An Israeli strike near the Nusayrat refugee camp leveled a building on Tuesday, killing at least 8 people. Several children were pulled from the rubble. Ukraine has accused Russia of deliberately targeting civilians in one of the heaviest aerial bombardments since Russia's war began. Ukraine's 2 largest cities were struck, Kyiv and the northeastern city of Kharkiv, killing at least 5 people on Tuesday and injuring dozens of others. Kyiv officials said the attacks caused widespread damage and hit power supplies. In his evening address, President Zelensky praised Western-provided defense systems for saving hundreds of lives. US Patriot systems are in continual use, and Ukraine claims to have forced down 10 Russian Kinzhal hypersonic missiles. A crater reportedly left by one such missile after it was shot down left little damage, but in populated areas they can be devastating. Kinzhal hypersonic missiles are part of an arsenal of weapons Vladimir Putin claims are indestructible due to their speed. Russia's Ministry of Defense issued footage of the recent missile launches. President Putin said he believes Russia holds the strategic initiative in the war. A growing confidence by the Russian leader seems to stem from Kyiv's failed summer offensive and delays in the US and EU military aid to Ukraine.
Russia and Ukraine have carried out the largest prisoner exchange since the war began, they said today. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said on his official Telegram channel today that more than 200 Ukrainian soldiers and civilians were returned home after negotiations involving the United Arab Emirates. The Russian Defense Ministry said a total of 248 servicemen were returned to the country. It is the first major prisoner exchange since last August.
It's been described as a miracle. Nearly 400 people, passengers and crew escaped to safety as their plane was engulfed in flames following a collision with a smaller plane on a Tokyo runway. Images of the Japan Airlines flight coming into land resembling a fireball could only leave observers fearing the worst. Tragically, 5 of the 6 people on board the smaller plane died in the incident. For an idea of what the passengers were going through, a 17-year-old Swedish boy captured the moments on his mobile phone. He later described the chaos after impact as the Airbus A350 lumbered to a halt on the runway. The entire cabin filled with smoke within minutes. It was like hell, he said. Investigators are piecing together what happened at 17:47 local time at Tokyo's Haneda Airport and why 2 planes could have been on the runway at the same time.
As an accident investigator, my focus is on what happened much longer ago, on how the 2 aircraft came to collide, and the moments up until all those who could be saved were saved. If reports are correct that everybody evacuated this aircraft successfully, then that is fabulous news.
It's the first major accident involving an A350, one of a new breed of aircraft built largely of advanced materials such as carbon fibre reinforced plastic. Airbus is sending a team of specialists to assist in the investigations.
A faraway African country is a source of concern for the EU. According to an EU Special Representative for the Sahel, the coup d'etat that took place in Niger in July was a real shock for Brussels. For its part, Brussels has responded by taking restrictive measures.
We were obliged to suspend all activities because of the coup d'etat. We have been supporting the action of the ECOWAS, which has imposed sanctions to the junta in power at the moment, because we wanted to send a very important sign that unconstitutional changes in countries such as the countries of the Sahel are absolutely unacceptable. And of course, this has caused the European Union to take decisions regarding its partnership, meaning suspending all the activities in development cooperation, in security cooperation, although, of course, we have preserved humanitarian aid because humanitarian aid for the European Union is essential.
Niger was a key partner for the EU in fighting illegal migration, but now this cooperation is at risk. The junta repealed an anti-trafficking law that has been reducing the flows of people through the city of Agadez towards the Sahara Desert. It's a clear retaliation to EU sanctions.
Lo que está haciendo la Junta es, ya se van a enterar ustedes en Italia de lo que les va a llegar, es efectivamente una respuesta al cese de la ayuda. Pero nosotros no podemos mantener una ayuda económica ante una junta golpista.
On the flip side, the decision was warmly welcomed by the population of the Agadez region. Many Nigerians make their living by transporting migrants.
Como en Europa, si quieres irte de Milán a Roma y vas en autobús, tienes que pagar un billete. Evidentemente, el billete Agadez-Gatrun, o Agadez-Gat, o Agadez-Sebha, es muchísimo más caro.
The anti-trafficking law was also criticised by Niger's civil society organisations as it could potentially choke the local economy, as explained by this expert.
Localement, on estime qu'il s'agit d'un moyen ancestral de vivre, de faire du commerce, d'échanger. On considère que les déplacements des populations, notamment dans le Sahel lui-même ou vers les régions du Nord, fait partie d'un mode de vie.
However, the European Commission fears that without the law in place, human trafficking networks could expand. Thousands of doctors walked out from their jobs in Britain on Wednesday. It was the start of a 6-day strike over pay, the longest in the history of the state-funded National Health Service. Managers said tens of thousands scheduled appointments and operations will be cancelled during the walkout across England and Wales by junior doctors. Junior doctors received a pay rise averaging nearly 9% this financial year. Ministers say they are not prepared to negotiate while strikes are ongoing.
France and Germany have requested flood assistance from the EU as strong winds and rain continue to worsen already flooded areas. Residents of Quimperlé in western Brittany were saved by their flood barriers, avoiding the worst. The Finistère department has been cleared of its warning following New Year Day storms. However, the red flood alert remains for the Pas-de-Calais department. Large areas in Germany have been underwater for days. Lower Saxony and Bremen remain on weather alerts. Heavy rain on Wednesday caused water levels of several rivers to rise significantly, increasing the risk of major flooding. In southeast London, structures and trees collapsed, blocking several roads. The Met Police has issued a yellow rain warning for Thursday for the south of England. Extreme cold weather caused disruptions in transportation in Finland, Sweden and Norway, where snow made rail traffic difficult and ferry lines were suspended. Thermometers in Finland and Sweden plunged to minus 40 degrees in some places on Tuesday and Wednesday, reporting it as the coldest temperatures of this winter so far.
Man är ju van med kyla, men när det kryper ner under 40 då tycker även jag att det blir kallt.
In the Stockholm area, trains were disrupted as yellow warnings were issued due to safety reasons, as in the event of the electric trains to stop, passengers risk freezing to death in non-heated carriages and in uninhabited areas. A blizzard hit Denmark on Wednesday, expecting up to 70 centimeters of snow in some parts of the country. Several ferries have been cancelled and wind-sensitive vehicles are advised against on several bridges.